One of my favorite things about Mathematica is the large variety of types of data it can work with. So let me show you an example of what I mean. If we start in a cell and then begin it with an equal sign, notice it doesn't show up like a usual equal sign. It shows up as a white equal sign on this orange background. And that is saying that this is going to be free form input or text input. So I can just write plain English here. I can write something like the state of Minnesota. And let's see what happens. I evaluated this by doing shift plus return, just like you usually evaluate in Mathematica. And we got this strange looking output where it's like the name and then it's surrounded in this orange box. So let me copy this and let me define mn equals, and then I'll paste it. So I copied by right-clicking and choosing copy. And let's see, what kind of object is this? So this is what's called an entity. And what good are entities? Well, here's one thing we can do with them. I can evaluate the function entity properties. And these are all sorts of different properties that I can evaluate that are stored in Mathematica for the state of Minnesota. For example, let me copy this state slogan. And I can do mn brackets state slogan. So this isn't what I was expecting, but the state slogan this says is explore Minnesota. I was expecting land of 10,000 lakes, but that's okay. And what if I wanted to have a way of inputting this state slogan that did not involve copying and pasting? Well, here's one way. If you put your mouse over the state slogan, it shows what the name is for it. And so it's slogans with a capital S in quotation marks. So I can do mn slogans. And that gets me the same thing. And similarly, if I go up here to this Minnesota entity and put my mouse over it, then I can see a more maybe robust way of inputting this. Okay, this looks much more like Mathematica code. It's capital E entity, square brackets, there are curly braces in it for a list, and so on. Another way I can get access to that is I can do full form mn. And so this gives me one way to get access to this Minnesota. So if I copy this and paste it, there's another way I can get it. Or this list here. Okay, this will look more familiar if I get rid of the list and square brackets and put it in curly braces. That means the same thing. So how did we get this? We started with an equal sign at the beginning of a cell. What if I don't want it to be at the beginning of a cell? So let me define the Mississippi River. So let me call it M River equals. And so, up here, we just used equal sign. Here, using equal sign is not good enough. You have to use control equals. And this is a common mistake that I make. I did control equals, so I get this equal sign, but this is not going to set M River to be equal to this thing on the right. So if I want to have variable assignment, like what we usually do with a single equal sign, then I need to also have a plain equal sign. Okay, this one here that I got using control and equals, that gives me a free input, a text input box here. Okay, and I can write Mississippi. And I could do shift plus return, or if I want to keep typing with Mathematica code, I can just move my mouse cursor outside of that. Okay, so I'm clicking outside of it. And then notice that it didn't give me what I wanted. I wanted the Mississippi River, but it gave me the state, Mississippi in the United States. And so sometimes there's this ... for alternate interpretations. And here I get the opportunity to say, use as a river instead. Okay, so now it's a river, and now I can accept this interpretation. and I can do shift plus return. And now M River is stored as the Mississippi River. And here's an example of an entity property for this. I can do length. Okay, and let's name this value to be len. And so what can I do with this value here? Hey, I could do len times 4. Okay, that looks pretty good. Or I could do len plus 4. But this probably isn't going to work the way you expect. Okay, and the reason for that is because this 2320, that had a unit of miles, and here this 4, it doesn't. So if you really just want to get 2324.2, here's one way you can do it. You can do quantity magnitude. And so that's going to get rid of the units and just tell me what's the magnitude of that value, okay, in terms of the units. Okay, so there, that worked. And maybe the last thing I'll say is here this was an administrative division. Okay, what was this one? Okay, well, let's check. Full form M River. Okay, this was a river. How can you find out what are all of the different types of whatever these are? They happen to be called entity classes. What are all the different types of entity classes in Mathematica, like river or like administrative division? Okay, here's how you can get it. And I don't find this function name intuitive at all, but it's called entity value. Okay, and here's administrative division. Here is river. And if you want to get for one of these, what are all the different types of entity classes in here? How can you do that? Well, one way is you can do entity list. And then, for example, we could do country. And here are all the countries that have built-in entities in the Wolfram language that Mathematica uses.